Week one of Jets training camp is in the books. First week under new head coach Aaron Glenn, new quarterback Justin Fields, who, by the way, is going to be just fine out there jogging around. He is day to day. Jermaine Johnson also, per him, has been cleared to return from the Achilles tear. Those are the injury notes from week one. Nothing else health wise, which is obviously the most important part of the early days of training camp. Pretty light practices so far. No pads as of yet. And Aaron, speaking of Aaron Glenn, you know, we don't know if Aaron Glenn's going to turn the Jets around. My spidey senses, I like him, man. I like Coach Glenn. I really do. He passes the smell test to me. Now my smell test told me the Jets were going to win 10 games last year, so I don't know how trustworthy it is, but I like Coach Glenn, and I'll at least say this about him: if he's going to fail, it's not going to be for the same reasons that the last head coach failed, and he made it a point to address the penalties that plagued the team last year. And he said, we're going to get these penalties right. We're going to knock them out. He said, you cannot win games as an undisciplined football team. And this was following up a question he was asked about bringing in officials to training camp practice. So the Jets did this in 2021 and 2022, first 2 years under Saleh. And then for whatever reason, they decided not to have officials at camp in 2023, and they were one of the top 5 highest penalized teams in the NFL. They had them not in camp again in 2024, and they were one of the highest penalized teams in the NFL. And it's always tricky with penalties. Okay, is it on the player or is it on the coaches? Yeah, any individual penalty is on the player. Certain players who happen to be very penalty prone, yeah, it's on them, but it comes to a point where if it's a consistent problem year in and year out, and the guys who are committing penalties are not facing any sort of repercussion of playing time, then yeah, that is an indictment on your coaching. I do believe, and they got to get that squared away. So, and then Aaron Glenn's defense was highly penalized last year, but a little bit of an anomaly throughout his coaching tenure in Detroit. They were average to below average in penalties committed. So that'd be a big step, man. No one's expecting the Jets to, at least speaking for myself, to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not even expecting, honestly, to make the playoffs. I don't. Look, it is what it is. I know it sucks. It's been 15 straight years. I don't think the Jets have to make the playoffs this year, or it's a failure. But they have to be better. They have to be better than what we saw last year. They're getting younger and getting cheaper. You have to win more games than last year, and you have to put a product on the field that's worth watching. You can't beat yourself. You can't be non-competitive. And I think that's one of the steps in the right direction, is starting with penalties, starting with the self-inflicted wounds. So I'm glad that's an emphasis at camp so far. Speaking of accountability and discipline, Elijah Vera Tucker on new head coach Aaron Glenn. Quote, backing on what Sauce and Garrett said, I can see this thing turning around for sure, especially with Glenn being the type of coach he is. He praises physicality, but even more accountability. That's very important for a head coach to do. I haven't seen that a lot in my first few years. So again, it's clearly there's a little bit of a personality and philosophical difference from the previous coaches with Aaron Glenn, and it's resonating with the players right away. You love to see that. That's a good start to me. Now, one of the more interesting parts of the Jets offseason has been the competition between Myers coming over from Green Bay and Joe Tippmann. Now, there's nothing wrong with competition. Nothing wrong with competition. I'm surprised. I didn't think it would be a talking point. I just assumed, penciled in, Joe Tippmann starting center, just like John Simpson starting left guard, Olu Fashanu starting left tackle, AVT at right guard. And I'm sure they'll have a quasi competition at right tackle, but it's probably going to be Membu. But for some reason, the staff has made it a point of emphasis that this is a competition. And Josh Myers was asked about it, and he said that he was told flat out he has a shot to win the starting center job. I don't know if when Xavier Newman was brought back, he was promised a shot, or if Jukes or Okafor was promised a shot. But Myers is promised a shot, and he started in the league a bunch. Myers is been the kind of player where if he's your worst starting offensive lineman, maybe you're okay. But you don't want him to be any higher than that. He's great as a backup. It's a great contract, right center and back guard. But okay, that's cool. The only thing to me that it could be is the snap accuracy because Tittman can play. Tittman is at worst an average starting center who's what 23 years old and on a rookie contract. So Joe Tittman to me isn't the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth place. I'm looking at this roster as an area to improve on. But hey, they made the best man win. I'm just a little bit surprised that's how that's unfolded. But we'll see what happens. Will McDonald is kicking ass again because it is football, so he's good at that. And Connor Hughes looks about 15 pounds heavier, looks stronger, and he's giving the business to everybody. And no pads when you're sweaty in July. Yeah, good luck blocking Will McDonald. Mason Taylor and Armand Membu were running with the ones. Although, somebody who was covering training camp, I texted them and I was like, "Hey, Armand Membu and Mason Taylor, are they running with the first team?" And they were like, "Yeah." I said, "Cool, okay, let me give you credit on my live show." And he was like, "No, no, because you're not allowed to say that." So if you're at camp, the team doesn't like it specifically. Like you could say this guy made a nice catch, whatever, but you can't say this guy is starting or whatever. The team does not like that. So anonymous anonymous source. Yeah, Mason Taylor, Armand Membu running with the first teams right away. No surprise. Armand Membu obviously a top. Man, it feels like 10 months ago the draft was, but he was the number 7 pick, right? Yeah, number 7 pick. He should definitely be starting over the Carter Warren right before Max Mitchell. So plug and play starter should be the expectation when you're number 7 pick. And Mason Taylor, same thing. Like, yeah, tight end is a longer trajectory developing position. He was a very young draft age, but he still was a top 50 pick in his own right. And isn't a ton, there isn't any proven commodities in the room. So you like Mason Taylor involved early enough, and you don't want to necessarily hear the built-in excuses of he's learning and all this stuff that we've seen with skill position players in the past that are taken outside the first round to get. You just want to go in there and be one of the top 4 targets on the team. Catch 45 balls, catch a couple touchdown passes. Just straight away. Not always inactive. Not he has to translate the playbook into 6 different languages and then demonstrate it via interactive dance or something. No, man, just run a route, catch a pass, and just the normal team second round pick stuff. Seems like we're on pace to do that with Mason Taylor. Now it's going to be interesting to see how the wide receiver depth shakes out because it's Garrett Wilson and then a big drop off. I have to imagine they'll keep at least one of the veterans in Lazard and Reynolds because you don't want a bunch of UDFAs. So one of those 2 guys, probably both. If I had to guess. Even like Lazard, Lazard was a bad contract for $40 million, but what is he now? $2 million. Okay, if you're wide receiver 4 or 5, all right, fine. But we got a lot of the depth players caught touchdown passes today with the second and third team. This is per Richie of Jets Media. Corley touchdown pass for Brady Cook. So did Gibson, and then Jamal Pritchett. Also, Brandon Smith had the first couple of days had a couple nice contested catches. Remember, Brandon Smith he was like 5 for 5 on contested catch opportunities last preseason. I dabbled in some Brandon Smith truthering, and I'm happy to pick up right where I left off because I just think he's got a nice skill set, man. He's the 6'4", long arms, big hands, can go up and catch the football. So I don't know. Is Alan Lazard better than him? Can he do that but without the drops? I don't know. And then obviously Jamal Pritchett and Xavier Gibson they will only be able to make the team by whoever wins the punt job, which again, this is Richie of Jets Media again, who does a great job covering camp. He said Xavier Gibson, Jamal Pritchett, and safety Andre Cisco were fielding punts today. So maybe Gibson and Pritchett, it's just that wide receiver 6 spot is going to be whoever wins the punt job between those 2. As far as I've heard from last camp to this camp, Corley is not really involved in the punt return competition, although he did touchdown pass today after dropping one in the red zone yesterday. Slow start for the kickers. This is per Jet Nation. Caden Davis started 2 of 6 to open camp and actually missed one, couldn't get it to the crossbar from 50. The thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis, was better, starting 4 of 6 and and just with no doubt on the distance on all of his kicks. And back to my guy Richie Jets Media said punters off to a really rough start. You could tell it's a big difference from having Thomas Morstead no longer out there. So a bit of an uneven start for the kicking and punting teams. Andre Cisco with 2 interceptions to open the first 3 days of camp as well. Couldn't spot who was on the first team reps next to Cisco because that's one of the spots that's truly open for grabs. If it's with Tony Adams or, Malachi Moore, or do they view Isaiah Oliver as a safety? So the secondary depth has a lot of different ways that it could go. That's one spot I'm looking to see how it shakes out throughout camp. But Mike is glitchy? No, we don't like that. Hopefully that's better. Oh, I didn't have my correlation on. Dr. Dave, man, hope all is well. Let's go Jets, hoping for a solid season. Let me see here. Hopefully this fixes it. See, I haven't done a live stream in like 5 weeks. This is what I get. I'm sloppy. I'm rusty here. Is that better? That's the only trick I have is to unplug that thing and put it back in. Hopefully that's better. But yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'm hoping for again, I can't really put a win total on it. I mean, obviously, it has to be better than last year. Like, if the Jets win 4 games, there's no way you can convince me it was successful season, right? So you gotta win more games than last year. You gotta be competitive in your division. You can't have blowouts. You can't have missed penalties. And obviously, it's Justin Fields. Can he take steps towards looking like maybe he can be a player in this league, right? It's the coaching and then the quarterback development. What's up, Chris? Been a minute, dude. Yeah, hope you're doing well, man. Yeah, Dave, I don't know, man. What's your definition of a solid season, man? I think it seems like Jet fans are definitely we're almost back to, I would say, maybe 20, not necessarily 2020 vibes where you're completely checked out, but 2021 it was like a new era, and then 2022 was coming off the awesome draft class. 23, you're getting Rodgers, and then Rodgers returning, and then now it's just kinda like, like the team isn't bad enough to tank. It's not. It's not a tanking like, I've seen teams that are bad enough to tank, and ironically, we didn't even do it. I've seen teams where, like, the best player on your defense is Jordan Jenkins and Henry Anderson, right? I've seen teams where you had maybe 1 average starting offensive lineman, and that was it. So, they're not bad enough to tank, but they're also probably not a playoff team, right? And they also don't have a young quarterback drafted. So they're just a little bit in limbo. But again, appreciate the super chat, man. Pat says, "Give me your 3 surprise picks to make the 53-man roster." Yeah, let's get that going now, baby. It's it's never too soon. Okay. Um, Jamin Davis. Well, I don't know if he's a surprise to make the roster, but I think you're gonna see a lot of Jamin Davis or ends up being the 3rd linebacker. He was one of the first guys they retained right away. Yeah, seems like the audio is better now. But yeah, so Aaron Glenn's defense last year, they ran a really significant amount of 3 linebacker sets, much more than that's gonna be one of the bigger differences between Salah's defense and Glenn's defense, and to be fair to Salah, that's not really the area that the Jets need to improve on in terms of defensive scheme. Like, it was everything else, literally everything else. The entire offensive coaching staff, discipline, accountability, preparation, all that, but so Saleh and Glenn are both 2 excellent, defensive coordinators, but it will be different. I think that'll be one of the bigger differences. I think, Saleh was much more willing to make a trade-off and say, "Hey, we're kinda gonna not be good against the run. We're gonna be hellacious against the pass." And up until he got fired, that kinda worked. But obviously there's you gotta weigh what you're willing to give up because unless you're the 2000 Ravens or the 2012 Broncos, the Legion of Boom, Seattle Seahawks, most of the time you kinda have to pick and choose your battles on a defense. You can't just you're not star-studded at every single level. So I think that Jamin Davis would be one, um, and then other 2 guys to make the team. mm, I mean, is it a surprise to say Clemens? I know. I think Clemens is gonna make it because only reason why, and it's not because he's good, it's just if they weren't gonna give him a true shot, like, you thought they would've caught him already because he's due $4,000,000, which isn't a ton, but, I mean, he's basically a vet minimum player to me, so and they were willing to they made a lot of they cut, obviously Rodgers and Adams in part due to large part due to finances trying to get cheaper. They cut Morstead. They tried to save $2,000,000 at punter, and they cut Greg Z right away. Now let's be honest, and to be fair, I wanted them to cut Greg Z. I wanted Greg Z, Clemens, and Lazard all gone. Now, Lazard for $1,000,000, whatever, it's fine. But, if you're telling me that if they kept Greg Z and had him kick in camp, to me, there's a better chance of Greg Z figuring out how to kick again at an NFL level compared to Michael Clemens figuring out for the first time ever how to be an NFL level defensive, you know what I'm saying? So, it didn't make sense to me. Now Glenn does like that size profile on his defensive ends, and I think he's just betting on, "Hey, we can fix him." Now I wonder if they can fix him for 1,500,000 and come to him for a pay cut, because if Clemens gets cut, all his guaranteed money is gone. No one's gonna pick him up for 4,000,000. So the Jets can kinda stay. I wonder if at the end of the summer they'll be like, "Hey, man, we wanna keep you, but it's gotta be for 2,000,000 less." Now, if not, I'll give you a 2 for 1 there. With Clemens, I'll also say, um, Eric Watts. I think I think for the same reason that Clemens might make the team, I think that Aaron Glenn is gonna like Eric Watts. He is massive, and Aaron Glenn rostered some Goliath human beings. Aaron Glenn his name is escaping me now, but I remember looking this up when I was looking pre-draft because there was all those big defensive ends, like Garrett Ivey, who somehow went undrafted, which is crazy. Those JFM type of ends, right? And there was a end that Aaron Glenn rostered the past couple of years was a rotational guy who was like a 285-pound dude who just played end. All right, Darius Smith, 275. Aiden Hutchinson is obviously like a 270-pounder. So he likes some big ends, and Eric Watts is like 6'5", 280 in terms of like arm length, hand size, weight. He's a 90 plus percentile player. So in terms of an early down edge, being that Jermaine Johnson is probably not going to be playing 60 snaps week one, I think you could see a good amount of Eric Watts. What does that mean for Will McDonald? I think Will McDonald is just too talented to not be on the field. We just don't have enough good players to do the game of, well, he's not good enough against the run. And with Will, just has to not suck against the run. He's never gonna play the run like Jermaine Johnson. He's never gonna play the run like Calvin Pace. He's not gonna do it. He's built like a Syracuse basketball small forward. He's built like a Jim Boeheim wing defender. Okay, that's just his build, right? With the long arms, kinda skinny for a D end. But dude, if he can just get the run defense to, like, below average, and a big part of his run defense struggles last year were missed tackles. So it's like, okay, you're getting blown off the ball sometimes, you can't set the edge. Alright, if you get to the ball carrier, tackle him. That's it. If you can do that, then you could justify playing him, on any down, getting him out there 62, 64% of the snaps, and if you do that, he's gonna get 70 pressures. Yeah, I mean, last year, the back end of last year, his tape was just littered with so many immediate wins, just immediate pass rush wins. So the sacks, whatever, those, there's a little bit more, fluctuation there, but his pressures are gonna keep coming, man. Will McDonald is I mean, I'm looking forward to him versus Broderick Jones week 1 for sure. What the hell else were we talking about? I gotta give you one more player. All right, one more player too who's gonna make the team. Mm, okay, I give you Eric Watts. He's gonna play a role. Um, Jamin Davis. Who else? I don't think Stone Smart makes it. I don't think he can block well enough. Well, Beck. I think Beck will. I don't know if that's a surprise, but yeah, I know that's like Joe Blewett. Uh, I mean, if Joe Blewett could start his life over and marry Andrew Beck, he would probably do it. Um, but yeah, I would say maybe Beck because I think that with the information we have now, he's probably the Jets' best non-offensive lineman blocker. And I think you need that. Whether he's a fullback, H-back, he's played both fullback and tight end in the NFL. So, if the Jets are coming out in 12 personnel, I don't know, I think Mason Taylor and then maybe Beck would be the 2 guys. So Beck, Watts, and Jamie Davis. Those are 3 guys who I think are gonna play a bigger role than expected. And also playing a bigger role than expected, I think Tony Adams. Like, again, it's the same thing with Clemens. I'm not saying it's good. I think Tony Adams is the kind of player that coaches maybe like more fans. He was only benched last year because of the owner. And they decided to what was it, the tender, whatever they placed on him, it wasn't no money. They brought him back right away. He's got a ton of traits, he's pretty good man coverage, he looks lost, as a run defender. So, I'm hoping that Malachi Moore can just win that safety job next to Cisco because I gotta say if it's Cisco and Tony Adams are your starting we're gonna have struggles against the run. There's just no way around it. Cisco is a true center fielding, rangy, ball hawking free safety that this team hasn't had in a long time, but his run defense is just not good, and neither is Tony Adams, so that would be a trade that would be a tough one there. So if Malachi Moore can win that job and that way maybe both of your starting safeties are run defenders, um, that would be helpful for sure. And obviously you just want the guy who's younger, who's gonna be here for 4 more years to come out the gate and take that job. And I think part of the benefit for taking a player in Malachi Moore, who is a fifth-year collegiate player, it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't have as high as a ceiling as a guy who's 21 on draft night, but maybe he's more pro ready. And I know he did have a little injury at the end of college, but hopefully he starts. Yeah, I think you're gonna see Tony Adams and Michael Clemens being playing snaps on this defense again, and I will remind you that they did do that while this defense was good. They just have to be like your 10th and 11th best defender, right? Like, Tony Adams once played 96% of the snaps on a top 5 defense in 2023. Wasn't because he was good, it's just because, "Okay, you're our worst player." Someone's gotta be it on it, even on a good unit. What's up, Dane? Oh, dude, Dane, I did get your message, brother. My bad, dude. Um I just been busy in terms of, like, collaborating and stuff, man, but we'll definitely get together this summer before the season, I promise, man. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to ghost you, brother. I just other people are, like, texting me. I'm just like, yeah, I wanted to not, think about the Jets for, like, a good 5 or so weeks, and, yeah, so now I'm back, so we'll talk, man. But you gotta do that. You gotta empty the Jets from your brain for, like, at least a month. I mean, it should be longer. It should be every day that's not 3 hours they're playing. That's what normal healthy people do. But if you're in here, you're not a normal healthy person, neither am I, but you still gotta give yourself a month, man, or you don't think about the Jets for your own health. 8 to 10 wins, Billy is on board. 8 to 10 wins would be awesome, man. Obviously, 10 wins, you're in the playoffs. 8 wins, if you could tell me just go 8 and 9 this season, it's crazy as it sounds, it's a low bar, but to me, 8 and 9 tells me that we're the coaches have something to them because you took a 5-win team, you on paper, I think the it's so hard to say because the team was very bad last year. I'll just say this, at the time of if you go back a year ago to now, I felt that last year's team was much more talented than this year's team. Now, obviously, that Tyron Smith, Hassan Reddick, these guys that we thought were gonna be really good kinda did nothing, but, I think if you're looking at the roster, I'm probably thinking it's like maybe a 6.5 win roster. Vegas has it at 5.5. I think that's a little low, um, especially with the offensive line, I think setting a floor and the run game setting the floor. But I'd say maybe it's like a 6.5 to 7 win roster, and if you could win 8 games, to me, that means you outcoached your talent. When is the last time a Jets team has done that? Probably not since Rex Ryan, right? I mean, even Todd Bowles, that 10-win season where we didn't make the playoffs, that team, it was a bunch of mercenaries, but that team was stacked. That was when they brought back Revis and Crow, Marshall, Decker, Chris every 1,000 yards. Decent offensive line. He still had some of the Sheldon Richardson, Muhammad Wilkerson, defensive players up front. I think was David Harris still there maybe, or Demario Davis, one of them was still there. One of those good linebackers. So, um, yeah, that team was good. So Jets haven't, gotten a overall net positive out of their coaching, I think since Rex Ryan. And I think 8 wins, definitely 10. If this team wins 10 games, Aaron Glenn's probably gonna win coach of the year. You know, if the offensive line comes as advertised, anything is possible. I'm really excited for this offensive line. I don't know how to rank it or whatever, but is it none of them are bad. Like, you know, it's hard to have a bad offensive line if you don't have any bad offensive linemen. Obviously, Membu is an unknown. But if he can come in and be an average right tackle his rookie year, I would take that. Obviously, by year 2, you want him to be really good, and then by year 3, you want him to be one of the top right tackles in the league. Well, rookie year, okay, if he can be average, Golu, if he can be above average, like, and then again, you have ABT, Timmon, and Simpson. The interior trio is all like worst case average to like above average. So that's going to come down to coaching in depth because the offensive line talent is definitely there, and it's not a massive projection. It's not as though we slapped together 5 new offensive linemen who's never met each other before. 4 of the dudes were returning starters from last year, and yes, it was a bad team who couldn't run the ball, but they could pass protect. They could pass protect last. Aaron Rodgers will not miss Robert Saleh. Mike Tomlin will be enjoyed by Aaron Rodgers, but, yeah, I don't know if he's got a better offensive line. With Broderick Jones and the rookie from, Washington and all that. He's got a top 3 defense. It's a better situation. They'll win more games than the Jets if I had to put money on it, no doubt about it. But, I don't know if he's made an upgrade in terms of the offensive line that's blocking for him now, to be honest. Fields injury, hope it wakes up front office. Wilson or Taylor go down. We have no real wide receiver or tight end. Need Fant, so Noah Fant and rent 2 better wide receivers. Also, this way we see if Fields really has it or not. I mean, Noah Fant to me would be a no-brainer signing because people would say, "Well, no, he's mid." And it's like, mid is fine. I know mid has become a pejorative, but it's okay to be mid as long as you're paid made money and those are your expectations. Now, if you draft somebody number 3 overall and they're mid, that sucks. If you pay someone $50 million contract and they're mid, that sucks. But if you sign Noah Fant to a 1-year, $3.5 million deal and he's mid and he has 425 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he's just a professional tight end, so you're not relying on a 21-year-old, uh, tight end to completely carry the room, that's fine to me. I mean, let's be honest, the Jets have signed a lot of mid this offseason, but they didn't overpay for mid, so it's fine. Thoughts on today's practice? So I did, I know my audio was kinda choppy in the beginning, but I did talk about today's practice quite a bit, at the top of the stream and with a lot of notes, mainly from our guy Richie from Jets Media, who was at camp. They had a lot of good stuff to put on Twitter. You kinda have to compile it from different sources because if you've ever been to training camp, it's really hard to catch a lot of stuff, which, people give the beat a hard time of like, "Why don't we know what happened to Fields?" It's like, dude, it's really hard. Like, training camp is just to go there and it's just for fun. Like, if you're going to training camp in person and you're expecting to come away with, like, some grand takeaways, it's you're probably gonna be disappointed, so, I think Richie does a really good job. We have no defensive line edge depth. Tackle, I keep hearing Pritchard's name. Is the sound still bad? I'll fix it. No one's complained about it since then. Yeah, Pritchard is gonna be a, training camp darling for sure. The undersized, speedy wide receiver who can maybe earn a spot behind a punt job is a yearly tradition. Run first team, yeah. Yeah, the weapons are look, I'll put it this is as kindly as I can put it about the Jets skill position unit. They need several variables to go in their favor in order to have, like, a plus skill position unit, right? So, whether that's and they're all possible, they just have to have these things go their way. Last year, like, every 50-50 proposition went against the Jets. So, whether that is Breece Hall returning to 2023 form, um, or Josh Reynolds returning to 2023 form when he was, like, a wide receiver 2 briefly, Mason Taylor just coming out the gate ready to go. One of or Arian Smith being able to be like a wide receiver 3. Okay, then you're okay. But if those things don't happen, then Fields is not gonna be getting the best support. So, the coaching staff is betting on themselves. We had Codrington, we traded him to the Bills, so he wouldn't hurt. Yeah. Yeah, and I think Codrington ended up being a pretty good returner for them, but I don't know what the Jets got a 6th round pick. I don't know, man. The thing about Gibson is he hasn't really done much as a punt returner either since the return. Oh, yeah, so I just got the inverse color scheme on this one. So these are what is it called? Urban Effort Originals. These are awesome hats. So I just got the inverse color scheme, the orange and black. I love these hats. I gotta get I gotta get a better Jets hat. I wanna get one of those, man, Ian from Jet Central has a really nice it's got, like, the green one with the swoosh logo underneath. I wanna get one of those. It's on Amazon for, like, $60 though. I'm like, "I don't know about that. I don't know if I want it that bad." Anyone play fantasy football? I haven't played fantasy football in a long time. Sometimes I'll do, like, a $5 parlay for fun on Sunday, whatever, but nothing serious. Breece and Braylon, yeah, I think the running back room is gonna be pretty good. Um, I like Isaiah Davis. I would say Isaiah Davis is underrated. Maybe in the NFL, but not amongst Jet fans because he gets a lot of love, Isaiah Davis. So and I like the mixed skill sets. Isaiah Davis, I think, is gonna be one of those you know who Isaiah Davis is? Isaiah Davis, I hate to say it, but I think you'll agree, if we're being honest. Isaiah Davis is the exact type of running back that the, like, 2014 Patriots would have. that was so annoying that would just catch, like, a dump off on 3rd and 6 and slip through a tackle and pick up a first down, like those Rex Burkhead kinda dudes, although he's a lot bigger. That's that's what I envision Isaiah Davis being. He's like a scrappy, kinda reliable do-it-all back. And then Braylon Allen is your short yardage guy who he was very good. He was, I believe, 9 of 12 in short yardage opportunities last year. And Brees, we know when he's right, he's a top 10 back in the NFL. He wasn't last year, but now we're in last year is like half a year ago. Now we're in this year, and now we're in a contract year for Brees Hall. So I wouldn't sell your Brees Hall stock at an all-time low. Oh, kick returner and Nwangwu is money. Now, he's technically a running back, but he doesn't really give you anything as a skill position player. But Nwangwu is a phenomenal kick returner. So that's cool. It's just the punt returning, I think that's really up for grabs. Nwangwu is a beast. Yeah, McDonald looks like he's bigger. Remember they wanted to do that last offseason, but it just didn't happen, and now it seems like it has. Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney came on. Hey, those guys make the Jets better, you know, but, I just don't think it's been well, especially with Keenan Allen, let's be honest, does Keenan Allen want to are the 2025 Jets like a hot destination for a veteran receiver who's maybe playing for his last year, you know? Does he wanna go to, like, the Chiefs or something? I don't know. Clowney, every time he's been a free agent, I've wanted Jadeveon Clowney because he's gives you good, like, anywhere from average to above average run defense, and then every other year he gets, like, 10 sacks. He gets, like, 10 sacks and then 2 sacks, and then 10 sacks and 2. You have to get him on one of those odd years. You're a really good player. Now at this point, this would be the point where Jadeveon Clowney would be completely washed. Both of these guys. I'm telling you, they could sign Clowney and Amari Cooper, and it would be completely dry cleaned, full Terrence Smith, Dalvin Cook. I think we missed the window on Clowney. So now we gotta let it go. Because it would be the Jets retirement package on both these guys. And I know Keenan Allen put up some good numbers last year, but he kinda old. And Amari Cooper, like, those wheels fell off in Buffalo. So, again, are they better than Tyler Johnson? Yeah. But, I think those names hold more weight than the value of the player. Although if I had to pick one, honestly, I would take Clowney just because I think it's more realistic to get him. What's up, DT? Me and Dylan Terman will be hanging out Monday, I believe it, although Dylan Terman, full on podcaster. I was listening to your video the other day, and you were talking about merch. I leave for a little over a month, and Dylan Terman is a full-on podcaster. Probably unemployed, probably quit his job, living out of his car, making videos about the Jets. It's good. It's step in the right direction. What's up, Michael? Level of concern at defensive tackle? You know, they're gonna need somebody, so I like Quinnen. Well, obviously, Quinnen is a beast. No questions there. I like Leonard Taylor as a 3rd down edge rusher, or sorry, 3rd down pass rusher from the interior. Derek Nottie pitching in 30% of the snaps on early downs is fine, but they're one piece short, which is why I was hoping they would draft a defensive tackle, to be honest. So who's that guy? Someone's gotta step up. Aaron Cowart, Jay Tufele, one of the UDFAs, 'cause that's the one spot they're missing. It's a 4-man rotation. I see roles for 3 guys that I think is okay, but they're one spot short, right? If we had a kicker last year, he would've won 8 games. More than 5, dude. I don't know how many, but more than 5. The Jets, obviously the kicking game, they were one of the more disadvantaged teams from their kicking in the NFL, no doubt about it. In almost like a comical kind of way. Especially, was it the Buffalo game where the penalty brings back the ball from Braylon Allen's touchdown, and then I think Greg Z missed, like, a 34-yarder. The season was over right there. It's like, you don't remember when, Michael Carter had his pick six called back against the Patriots in 2022 when the Jets were, like, had a above 500 record? The season was over right there. We had more games to play, and it was early, but in your soul, there's a moment every year. There's a moment every year, and it's usually in October, to be honest, when the season is over. It doesn't matter what the record is or what the standings are, like, the football gods do not allow you to come back from that. And the holding call bringing back Braylon Allen touchdown to go up on the Bills at home and then missing a 33-yard field goal. It was over. It's done right there. What's up, Mike? Audio is still fun. Yeah, I'll get it fixed for the next stream. I don't know what that is. Can't be this mic going on me. This thing has been trusted. But my video recordings have been fine. I don't know. Maybe it's StreamYard. I'll figure it out for the next stream. Sorry about that, guys. Microphone. We'll try that. Maybe that makes it different. I don't know. Demar says, I feel like every year we have a wide receiver named Smith who is a training camp darling. It's hilarious. Yeah, the problem is like, did the name test, man. The name test is very accurate. Now the name test is not kind to Arian Smith because let's be honest, Arian Smith sounds like just one of those names you'd read off of like Chad Hansen and Ardarius Stewart, Arian. He sounds like such a mid round bust by his name. Conversely, Azariah Thomas, that is a Pro Bowl defensive back. You can't be named Azariah Thomas and be bad. So that is the level of analysis you come to the channel for. But Arian Smith, yeah, man, I think he's gonna get a shot. Again, I think they clearly drafted him with a specific skill set in mind. And let's see what he's got, man. He's got to just catch the ball because his speed is legit. Miami will be at the bottom of the division soon. So you gotta. This is hate watch season, right? Now you just have to hope if the Jets aren't very good this year, you just have to hope that all the teams you don't like also suck and join us in the misery. And the Dolphins, the past couple of years, I've liked their roster to be honest, but this year, I don't know. I think they do have a scarier floor. I think they could bottom out. If Tua misses time again, it's Zach Wilson. I think the their overall talent level has decreased, and what is Tyreek Hill no longer a top 3 receiver because that changes their offense dramatically. They're we'll see. They invested in trenches on both sides of the ball in their draft. Jonnu Smith was a really integral part of their offense last year. Like 800 yards. It was all screen merchant stuff, but it worked for them. So we'll see. Appreciate that, Red Man. What's up, Nick Shine? Is there one Jet game out of all the ones they blew last season that should have been won compared to every loss? Which one should it have been? Oh man, well, I think the Buffalo one was probably the most impactful. And I think that one was a bummer because you got a Hail Mary. You can't win a game where you complete a Hail Mary to Allen Lazard. And Aaron Rodgers played very well in that game. Very well. And the offensive play calling was awesome in that game. You got Todd Downing in his bag. You got Aaron Rodgers looking like his 2020. You catch a Hail Mary from Allen Lazard. You can't win the game. That was tough, man. But a lot of them, I mean, the Vikings game, that game was one possession. You're talking about what? Two missed kicks, um, three intercepting a pick six to a linebacker, defensive end, missing, wide open Garrett Wilson down there in the end zone. A lot of them, man. Seattle was gross. Seattle was disgusting. That felt very old school late season Jets loss. That was another pick six to Leonard Williams, right? And we got a return kick touchdown. So not being able to capitalize on those things, like you got a kick return touchdown in one game, you can't win. You got a Hail Mary completion. Like, you got to win games when those things happen. Denver was frustrating because we're the only team the whole year who failed to score a single touchdown against the Denver Broncos. That's the one where I can't even blame Greg Z for, because it's like, okay, he goes 3 of 4. He goes 3 of 4 in the rain and misses a 51-yarder at the horn. Like, okay, like, just score a touchdown. Score one touchdown in that game and you win, a lot of them. The Colts, did we lose to the Colts? I feel like that one was all on the defense, because I feel like that game was high scoring and we couldn't stop Anthony Richardson. So that was pretty disgusting. Yeah, so there's a lot of them, man. There's like 5 that are all definitely in the running for most upsetting loss of last year. Smith sounds like a Madden generated. Yeah, he does. He does. No, I'm just kidding about Arian Smith. I'm contrarian to my fellow Jets podcasters. I did not you know, sell all my possessions and move out into the woods because they drafted Arian Smith. Although, to be fair, like, guys, here's the thing. It's tough this time of year too, because I think it's like a new regime, but at the same time, I think it's okay to think maybe some things the Jets do are not always the right thing. The Connor Rogers specifically, his mentions, people were ripping him to shreds. But as I do, the guy, he's like, here's my board. Here's where Arian Smith is. He's my 207th player on the big board. And everyone's like, okay, cool. Sounds good. And then the Jets draft him and he's like, yeah, I think Arian Smith is like the 207th. It's like, how dare you? How dare you? What do you know? Podcast boy. It's just his 2 cents, man. But the thing about with Arian Smith, I made this point before, and maybe it's a cope. I like to cope with the draft picks at least. If they sign terrible free agents, I will criticize the team. But with the draft, I try and keep more of an open mind. Like, to me, Brandon Stevens is still, I don't understand I don't know if that risk was necessary to sign him to 2 years of guaranteed money and betting on that you could teach him to play the ball, which is what he needs to get better at. So that I don't really get. But Arian Smith, okay, 4th round, and all of the burners in the draft class, the guys who ran like sub 3.5, they all went. I'm talking like a round and a half on average higher than projected. So all of the blog accounts and channels like mine, channels bigger than mine, the PFF boards, all that stuff combined, the consensus, NFL front offices valued just the trait of speed in this draft class way more than consensus. And teams have been burned by that for sure. Remember the Raiders, like 5 years in a row, they took a fast guy who couldn't catch. But those were like high in the 1st round, right? So, the guy like what was it, Thornton from Tennessee, Tesla, who was supposed to be like a 6th round pick, and then the Lions traded 3 third round picks to get him. All the burners went way higher. So, it's we'll see. The Jets might be wrong, but they weren't alone in thinking that. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of moments like that last year. Definitely not all on the quarterback. It's just it sucked. But hopefully it's hopefully it's better this year, man. Your first play of the year, 3 running backs come on the field with Taylor and Wilson. Okay? Sure. Why not? Yeah, I mean, I guess the first play of the year, who's on the field? So I'm guessing 11 personnel. It could be 12, but probably 11. So you got Fields, Fashanu, Simpson, Titman, AVT, Membu, Garrett Wilson, Mason Taylor, Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith. That's my starting 11 personnel. I hope that Arian Smith can be ahead of Lazard because a wide receiver room that's starting Lazard and Reynolds is just a little. You're lacking you're really lacking a speed there. Appreciate it, Jack. Yeah, Dylan Turman is doing his thing. At least the offense showed up here in AZ. In Arizona in 24. Did they? I thought the Arizona game was. Didn't we throw for like 90 yards in that game? Wasn't that a blowout? I thought that was a blowout. Maybe I'm misremembering. Would it be ridiculous to say the Jets didn't know how to use Braylon Allen? No, it wouldn't be ridiculous to say the Jets didn't know how to use anybody on offense because they didn't. Why does Salah's coaching staff always play guys through injuries? I don't know, man. Hopefully that's all behind us there for sure, though. Yeah, I think guys on offense. I mean, Corley. I don't know what to expect of him, but it's almost like he's a rookie again. Jeremy Ruckert. I don't think Jeremy Ruckert will be. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Oh, all right. Yeah, sarcasm. Okay. Yes, they were. Yeah, that's the game I'm thinking of where they that was a blowout. Yeah, but even like Jeremy Ruckert, I mean, I don't know, dude. If Jeremy Ruckert was drafted by like the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens, he'd probably be a fine tight end too. I'm not saying he'd be, Greg Olsen or George Kittle, but he'd probably be a fine tight end too, right? These guys just completely lost confidence. So I think I don't know if there's a bunch of guys who are going to break out to be superstars, but coaching is not always about that. Coaching isn't always about, oh, this, Josh Allen struggled his first 2 years and then Brian Dable unlocks him. What's Brian Dable done since, by the way? But it's not always about those big, development stories. Sometimes it's just, hey, can you make this guy who's looked like a fringe roster player into a decent backup? Can you take Garrett Wilson, who's been a top 15 receiver, and make him a top 7 receiver? And those things compound and compound. And if you can keep doing those, you'd probably talk about 3 more wins. Is Carter Warren ever going to be DeBrickashaw Ferguson? No. But why does it look like when he and Max Mitchell come in, it's like they've never played football before? I mean, someone else would have drafted those guys in the mid rounds. Like, it's to me that those are coaching things. So, your depth guys being actual playable depth guys and guys just knowing their role and playing knowing what their role is. What is my role? What is my job? Was that explained to players before? Because I remember playing sports and I was never a great athlete. So I'm just talking like high school, nothing serious. Whatever. High school, your school basketball team, whatever, your school football team. And I always remember like if a coach kind of like leaned into just one thing you did well. Like I remember in basketball, I didn't have the best handles. I could shoot a little bit, but I was really good at blocking shots. I have like a I'm like 6'1", 6'2", but I have like a 6'8" wingspan. I got long monkey arms. And I was really good at blocking shots. And I remember the first coach and like I was super young, maybe like 8th or ninth grade, and he's like, "Hey, you're our shot blocker." And he said, "You're gonna be like our Tayshaun Prince. You're our long defender. You're gonna be a nuisance to the other team's like wing scorer." And it was just like, oh, this is my game now. And I didn't even care if I scored a single point. I didn't care about any of that. I was just like, this is who I am now. This is this is my job on the team. Um, and then you kind of and then now you have an identity, right? Now you have like a confidence. Now you know. So I think that I think that still translates to pro sports. Like, what is your job? Doesn't have to be the sexiest job. What is your job? Maybe Jeremy Ruckert's job is just to be a nasty blocking tight end who catches 2 touchdowns a year on like these league plays where they forget to block, where they forget to cover him. You know, lean into that. Maybe Michael Clemens' job is just no, it's too far. Too far. I can't. I don't know. Maybe Michael Clemens. To me, the Clemens thing is not even like I don't know if he's talented enough. I don't know if he has the athletic ability to do it. But maybe he could be some sort of early down enforcer. You know, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I forgot about that. We're not one player away. But what about Keenan Allen to help the receiving core? Yeah, dude, Keenan Allen makes us better. Keenan Allen would be look, he's old, but he's probably would still be the second best pass catcher on the team right away, right? So I wouldn't complain about it. I just don't know if a guy like that wants to come to the Jets. Can you speak to how much better things can be with squaring away our offensive line? I think that there are very, very seldom do you see a bad team, a terrible team with a good offensive line. Now you might say, well, the Jets had all these offensive linemen last year and they still sucked. Okay, that is fair. So I'll say this: your coaching has to at least reach a minimum threshold of competence for everything else to matter. Same thing with quarterback. Like if you are bottom 3 at either coaching and quarterback, and you can chicken or the egg those two because they both impact each other. If you're bottom 3 in one of those areas, your team is going to suck. Um, it just is what it is. I mean, truly, just as an experiment, they should let Nate Hackett coach the Chiefs as the head coach. If Nate Hackett coached the Kansas City Chiefs as the head coach, I'm being dead serious. I think they would miss the playoffs. I think they'd be like an 8-win team. Right? And then in the same way, if you put Nathan Peterman on the Chiefs, they're not making the playoffs with Andy Reid, right? So you need a minimum like competence at those two spots, coaching and quarterback, for anything else to matter. But if you do get at least, top 20-ish in those areas where you're not bottom third or the bottom fourth of the league, I think the next biggest floor raiser is offensive line. Because it changes everything. If you have a capable offensive line, obviously. And that's the position group where I'm most excited about the personnel. Probably that and corner. So if the Jets coaching staff is average, then that offensive line is going to be good. And guess what? If the coaching staff is average and the offensive line is good, Justin Fields is probably going to play pretty decent. And if Justin Fields plays pretty decent, like you know what I'm saying? Like that, you're talking about a team that can win some games. So to me, that's why it all starts with coaching this year, because The offensive line personnel, I know it's good enough. And if the coaching is good enough, then you have coaching and offensive line. And if you have those two things, then your quarterback should be successful. And then you have not elites, but then you have at least competence at coaching, offensive line, and quarterback. But it starts with coaching, because if you get the coaching, to me, you're getting those other two things, because Fields is okay. He's been serviceable enough to where if he's put in a position to succeed, you could win some games with him. Now, is he going to go out there and it's like, oh my gosh, he's our starter the next 6 years? I don't know. It'd be great. I don't know. But he's not some Tim Boyle scrub. He can play a little bit. No skills. Appreciate it, man. Rewatched the 2022 season opener last week. Man, what game did we open with? Oh, 2022. That was at home against Baltimore, right? And then Joe Flacco was starting for the Jets, I believe. I was at that game. I was at that game with Nick Shine. Remember, Nick? Nick, that feels like it was 10 years ago, dude. Nick, looking good. Nick, you dropped some pounds, man. You're looking, maybe you got a new filter on your stream. You looking lean, man. I see your notifications popping up every single day. Nick Shine grinding away, putting out the content. Got memberships. Dylan Terman's got merch. That's what, I'm not good at that part of the podcasting. I got no sponsors. I got no merch. I forget to ask for super monies. I just come on and talk about the damn football team. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Brees. Having a healthy Brees. Oh, dude, it would completely change the offense. That's another one of the variables that it's so hard to predict what this team is going to be, because truly, if you tell me we were getting rookie Brees, who by the way was better than 2023 Brees, even though he ran for whatever almost 1,000 yards, rookie Brees, I know it was only like 9 weeks or whatever. He was unbelievable. He was probably the second best running back in the NFL behind Christian McCaffrey until he tore his ACL. So if you're getting that player versus if you're getting last year's Brees, who was like the 16th best running back in the NFL, you're talking like that alone right there could be a 2-win difference. Remember the game against the Dolphins in 2022 where Brees Hall had 98 yards rushing and 99 yards receiving? Like that kind of performance can win you a game. And then if Justin Fields adds 65 yards rushing and a touchdown, and even if we only throw for $150 in that game, like you can win that game. You can win a few games just through Brees and Fields' legs if Brees is right. So that's a huge factor, man. I'm glad they didn't trade him, just because I don't think they would have got a lot for him. I really don't think they would have got much for him. So I'd rather him ball out this year, and then you make the decision. Oh, it's too much money, we're going to let you go. Okay, we'll get a comp pick for you. Or most likely we'll franchise tag you, right? I'd rather that than them get, a 4th to 6th round pick swap or whatever, because I don't think it would have been much, because it was such a rich running back draft class. What's up, Kyle? Yeah, Ravens. I remember that game. It was raining the whole time. It was terrible. But I'll leave it there. Appreciate you guys hanging out. If you want to hit the thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. And we'll talk Jets football soon.